In this lesson, we are going to talk about two other methods of transfer of heat, that is convection and radiation. Now, what is convection? The method in which heat is transferred by movement of particles themselves from one place to another is called as convection. That is, the hot particles, once they become hot, they start traveling, they leave their own place and move to another place, and that is how they transfer heat from one place to another. This method of heat transfer takes place in liquids and gases. Now, the molecules of the liquid or gas that are near the source of the heat, they get heated first. Once they become hot, they become lighter, and being lighter, they start rising up. That is, they move upwards. When they move upwards, the place which was initially occupied by them, that space becomes vacant, and that vacant space is immediately occupied by the colder particles which were nearby to that hot particle. And this process continues until the whole of the liquid or the gas gets heated. Let us try to understand this with the help of this figure. Here in a kettle, some water is kept over a flame, and we are trying to heat this water inside the kettle. Now, as you can see, there are some red colored arrows, and alongside there are some blue colored arrows. The red colored arrows are moving upwards and the blue colored arrows are moving downwards. Now, what do these two types of arrows indicate? The red colored arrows indicate the molecules which are warmer and hence they are rising up, whereas the blue colored arrows indicate the molecules which are cooler and are moving downwards. So, warmer molecules, they become lighter and they start rising up, and the cooler molecules which were present at the top, being heavier, they start moving downwards. This way a cycle is produced inside in the liquid present in the kettle, and this process will continue till the entire liquid molecules are becoming hot. So this process of heat transfer is known as convection. Now, there are several examples of convection which we come across in our everyday life. One such example is present in our refrigerator. We have a refrigerator in our house, and if we observe the position of the freezer inside the refrigerator, then you will find that the freezer is always located at the top of the refrigerator. Now, can you explain why the freezer is not located at the bottom, why it is always present at the top of the refrigerator? So let us see. The freezer is located at the top of the refrigerator because the air inside and around the compartments of the freezer, they get cool, and since cool air is heavier, so it will start moving downwards and on the other sides, whereas the less cool air which is present at the bottom of the refrigerator, being warmer as compared to this cool air, it will start rising upwards. So again a cycle is produced, and that cyclic pathway always will have cooler air which is present around the compartments of the freezer moving downwards, and warmer air which is present in the lower parts of the refrigerator moving upwards. And this process will continue till all the articles that you have kept inside the refrigerator, they become cooler. And this type of cyclic pathway in which warm air rises up and cool air moves down to take its place, this method of heat transfer is known as convection. So a convection of heat current are set up inside the air present in the refrigerator, and that is how all the articles kept inside the refrigerator become cooler. Now, can you tell how is heat transferred in air? Now, since air is a mixture of gases, and as we have just now seen that in liquids as well as in gases, the method of heat transfer is known as convection. So in air also heat is transferred by convection. Then again, in which direction does a smoke move? So smoke is made up of hot air with some unburned particles present in it. Now since the air is hotter, so naturally it is lighter and it will move upwards. So smoke coming out from any burning object will always move in the upward direction. Again, there is an example here. There are two thermometers, thermometer A and thermometer B, and there is a burning candle. Now thermometer A is kept 7 cm away on the side of the flame of the candle, while the thermometer B is kept 7 cm above the flame of the burning candle. Now we want to know which one of these thermometers, A or B, will show a greater rise in temperature, and we have to give an explanation to our answer. So how do we answer this? The thermometer B, which is kept above the flame, will show a greater rise in temperature as compared to the thermometer A. Now why is it so? We all know that the air which comes in contact with a flame will become warmer, and that air being warm, it will be lighter and will start rising upwards. So the air around the flame of the candle, after becoming hot, it starts rising in the upward direction, and when this air comes in contact with the thermometer B, then that thermometer will measure its temperature, the temperature of the air, and that will be greater as compared to the thermometer A. Why? Because A is not kept above the flame, rather it is kept on the side. So the warm air is not coming directly in contact with the thermometer A. It is coming in contact with the thermometer B, and hence a greater rise in temperature is seen for the thermometer B. Now what will be the temperature reading in A? A will also show some rise in its reading, that is temperature will show a certain increase in its value. Why is it so? Because some amount of heat will be transferred to the sides of the flame, burning candle flame as well, but that mode of heat transfer is not by convection, rather it is by radiation. Whereas in the case of the thermometer B, the temperature is rising because of the mode of transfer of heat, which we know as convection. Now let us see what is radiation. Radiation is also a method of transfer of heat, and in this method heat is transferred in the form of waves known as electromagnetic waves. Now these waves do not necessarily require any medium for the transfer of heat. For example, the heat from the sun, it reaches the earth's surface by the process of heat transfer, which we call as radiation. And we all know that above the earth's surface there is only a very thin layer of atmosphere, beyond which there is no medium, no air present, but still the heat coming from the sun, which is far away from the planet Earth, reaches the surface of the earth. So how is that heat transferred? It can neither be transferred by conduction nor by convection. So the only mode of heat transfer that is taking place in this case is by radiation. So that means that radiation is that mode of heat transfer which does not require any medium. Heat transfer by radiation can take place even in vacuum. And it is also important for you to know that every hot object radiates some amount of heat into the environment. Even we human beings, we also are continuously radiating some amount of heat into our surrounding environment. Now, transfer of heat from hot bodies like pan, plate, burner, etc. to the surroundings is by radiation. If we are not in contact with the hot body, but still the environment or the surroundings are becoming warmer and we can feel that warmth, then that is because of the radiated heat from these hot objects. Here there is a figure where few pieces of wood are being burned and the flame coming out of it is naturally hot, which is making the surroundings hotter. There are two hands placed at the side of the flame and these hands are experiencing the warmth of the flame. Now, by what method is heat of the flame transferred to these hands? It is transferred by the method of radiation. Now remember, convection is also taking place in this case, as is represented in the figure. Convection is due to warm air rising upwards. So if you place the hands just directly above the flame, slightly above, so that your hands do not get burned, then the mode of heat transfer by which your hands will feel the warmth of the flame, that will be convection. And if you are placing your hands on the sides of the flame, still you will feel the warmth of the flame, and that is by the method of radiation. Now let us answer few questions based upon what we have learned so far. The first question says, if a pan is removed from the fire, then why does it cool down? So anything, not only a pan, anything if you were initially heating by keeping it above fire, and then when you remove it from the fire, after some times that object becomes cooler. So why is it so? So this is because the surroundings are cooler as compared to that hot object. So slowly and slowly the heat from the hot object is getting transferred to the surroundings, and that method of heat transfer is actually by radiation. That is, the hot pan is radiating its heat to the surroundings, and when it is radiating heat, so its temperature goes on decreasing, and finally the temperature of the surrounding and the pan, when they become equal, no more heat is radiated from the pan to the surroundings. So hence pan becomes cooler. Then second question demands, why do we feel warm when we come out in sun? So we all might have experienced it, that when we move out in the sun, then we start feeling warmer, especially during the summer days. So this is because sun radiates heat, and the heat radiated from the sun is reaching on the earth's surface, as well as we are also experiencing that heat, and that method of heat transfer from sun to the earth's surface or to our body is by radiation. So we feel warm because of the heat coming by radiation from the sun. And the third question demands, by which method is heat transferred in vacuum? So just now we discussed that no medium is required for transfer of heat by radiation. So vacuum has no medium, so that means if some heat is getting transferred through vacuum, then the mode of transfer of heat will be radiation.